Hello, everyone. Matt Malatesta here. Happy holidays. We're in the VYPE studios in Houston, Texas. This is On My Whistle, powered by VYPE, as seen on Samsung. Okay, we got a treat for you today. Are you ready? Charlie Ward, former Heisman Trophy winner, won a national championship at Florida State. He was a 10-year NBA vet with the New York Knicks. He was a superstar baseball player and tennis player in high school. We talk about his journey with him. He's living in Florida now. He's a high school basketball coach on the campus of Florida State University. Great guy, great Christian, and now he's kind of getting in other ventures. He's building a campus of his own called the Champions Campus, where he's mentoring kids and providing great athletic facilities as well. And he was at the Heisman ceremony in New York City, which was his home for 10 years. Think Georgia, small time Georgia, to New York City for 10 years playing at Madison Square Garden. But he was there at the Heisman house where they do, of course, the Heisman Trophy. And man, he said, what a cool guy Travis Hunter was. And what he loved about Travis Hunter is this. He kind of made his own path. People told him he couldn't play two ways. He couldn't play receiver and defensive back. He does just that. And Charlie Ward talks about his life and how he did kind of the same thing, where he played basketball and football. He talks NIL. He talks about the portal and how all these kids have kind of moved around and what the new culture of high school to college sports is. Great guest. You're going to love this. All right, Matt Malatesta. We'll see you at the games. This is Charlie Ward, former Heisman Trophy candidate and winner. Okay, as promised, Charlie Ward, one of the greatest athletes in the history of American sports. He won't say that, but we'll say that. All right, coach, now coach over in Tallahassee, Florida. Coach, let's go back in time. Tennis superstar, drafted by Major League Baseball, played in the NBA, won a Heisman Trophy. Can that be done in today's high school sporting climate?
Not sure about the Heisman and playing in NBA. I don't think that'll ever happen again. But one of the things I did growing up in high school was I just enjoyed high school. So I played every sport, and I enjoyed playing every sport. Um, and so those are great memories for me. And I also encourage young people to do the same. A lot of times we especially in this day and age, we've gotten so caught up into what the sport can provide us as opposed to what we can enjoy from doing the sport or what have you. And so I think once you have the heart of enjoying what you're doing, then all the other things will come into focus and be prioritized in the right order.
And now you're coaching high school basketball on basically the campus of Florida State University. Just what is the message that you giving these kids?
Our main goal and focus is to help prepare them for life, was one. And that's been my coaching philosophy since I've been in coaching. Whether we were winning or losing, that wasn't a big issue. The biggest issue was how can we prepare them for life, and then give them opportunities to be able to grow in high school while preparing for what they say they want, which is college. Most of them want to go to college, whether it's football or basketball. Those are two sports that I've coached. And so we give them, the things that they say that they want, and try to help prepare them for that. And so once they get to college, they see that, hey, the things that we were trying to get you to buy into in high school, now you're having to do in college. And so some of them understand like why we did what we did, in a lot of ways. And some of that is just taking them on trips, overnight trips to be able to see what it's like to travel. And so just giving them all those things to be able to help them understand the importance of, what it is that they want to do long term, but all those things transfer over to, life experiences as well, long term.
Great, great answer. What was your like? What do you remember the most about high school? Because it's a great time where you're playing for your community and you're making lifelong friends at that point. What do you remember the most?
Right. Well, that is one of the most memorable moments. Of course, we had some great success in football. Basketball was kind of less desirable, but when it's all said and done, being able to look back over those days and the people and friends that I was able to make over those years, one of the great things I enjoyed the most was, a lot of my middle school, our classmates, we went to school together. Like from middle school all the way up through high school. And those times and friendships, will last a long time. And so, you know, it was just at a point where it was authentic. Guys were there for the right reason. And we enjoyed the experience, whether we won or lost. Most times we won in football. Basketball is a little bit more challenging, um, but just being able to do it with the guys that you've done it with for 3 4 years or whatever it may be. So just those great memories before that you have or build over those years. Um I just enjoyed the coaching staff. We're close knit family community as well. So being able to have coaches there, throughout, um, and their focus was, how can they help us become better as well. So all those authentic, as I call them, authentic things you admire now, especially in our day of, where can I go to be the best? How can I fit in with others to be the best? Somewhere else. And it's not just players, it's coaches as well. Everyone's looking to move up. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just today's climate. But I'm grateful that I had the experience of being able to have, the same coaching staff for 4 years at my high school, which is, sometimes not the same.
You know, we had John Lucas on the other day, and he talked about tennis. He was a tennis star. You were a tennis star. What was it about
Um,
tennis back in the day that kind of grabbed you?
well, I was like Lucas. So um, I just had great hand-eye coordination. I wasn't a tennis star. What made me a star was I got an opportunity to be in New York. I was there, got drafted by the Knicks, and got an opportunity to play with Joe Dumars and John McEnroe in a um, celebrity exhibition type of tournament, something back and forth at the U.S. Open. So I guess that's how I got deemed as a tennis star because I was able to hit the ball back across the net. But tennis, just like any other sport for me, was came easy because I was blessed with great hand-eye coordination, and tennis was something that I didn't do in high school. But the tennis coach wanted me to come out and play, but I just didn't have enough time to do all of the sports that I wanted to do in the spring, or they asked me to do. So but tennis is something just like any other sport. It came easy, and I was just able to do it.
And then talk about baseball. You also played baseball. Great, really good baseball player in the high school level. I believe you were drafted as well in baseball. All of these kind of sports, from tennis to baseball, about all hand eye. But how did baseball help you?
Well, I started out in Little League baseball. It was my first experience in baseball, and but of course I played in the streets of Thomasville, my neighborhood, I should say, is where we kind of started it all. Played organized baseball. Actually, Sean Jones. I don't know if you remember Sean Jones. That name played at Georgia Tech, the quarterback.
Yeah.
We were on the same baseball team. Growing up with his brother Mike Jones as well. So those were great times, memories. Um, like I said, it came easy when it came to just sports in general. And so after playing Little League, my next baseball experience, my senior in high school, because I had a couple of injuries my freshman and sophomore year in high school. And my junior year, I decided to run track to improve my speed on the football field. So I did that my junior year, and then my senior year, I played baseball, and lo and behold, my first at bat that year uh, was a home run. So and that was I went 1 for 5, but that one was a home run. So I'm grateful for that. But baseball is something that, as I mentioned, was easy. And I was a shortstop and center fielder, and then pitched a little bit, not much, but pitched a little bit as well. So, but I just enjoyed all those experiences. Those are great memories that I always cherish as well.
So then you get to the time where you're like, "Hey, I've got to make a decision as to college." What was that like? I mean, that was a little bit before the time of all the hats and the social media for sure. But what was the decision um, to go to Florida State, and what was the biggest factor there?
I was enjoying high school so much when it was time for me to figure out where I was going to go. And my mom was like, you need to, it was like January. Of course, signing day was early part of February. And she was like, you're going to have to make a decision on where you're going. And I was like, do I have to? I mean, I'm enjoying high school, but I ended up deciding to go to Florida State because it was between Florida State and Georgia. And Coach Dooley, Ray Goff was the guy who was recruiting me really, really hard during that time. And they wanted me to come to Georgia. But one of the things, the separating thing was, one, Coach Bowden was a Christian man. Not saying that Coach Dooley wasn't, but Coach Bowden was a Christian man. And he also allowed Brad Johnson to play basketball. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to do. Georgia said they would allow me to do it, but they didn't have any history on their side as far as allowing guys to do that. It was closer to my hometown as well, and I'm from Thomasville in Tallahassee. So that was another deciding factor as well. And I wanted to be the first black quarterback. So there had never been a black quarterback at Florida State. For me, that's a good reason why to go. So I chose to go there and prove everyone wrong. And I had a great experience while I was there.
Tremendous success later on at Florida State in your career. You win a Heisman. That run was wild because y'all were so good, and they were on the forefront of college football. Then you were playing basketball. How did you manage all that?
One of the things that I learned was if you're going to be successful, you're going to need people to assist you. If you want to be successful and you want people to help you, you're going to have to put in some work as well. And so I had to do all of the above. When you start talking about managing your time, with between football and basketball, that actually helped me because it gave me structure to be able to organize my time because I knew when football practice was there, if I wanted to go and shoot basketball in the evening, to get prepared for basketball season, I could do that. Study hall, all those things gave me structure. So I didn't have much time to do anything else. But when it came down to me being able to manage both academically as well, of course, we had all the tutoring and academic support we needed to be able to help me fulfill the goals that I set out, when I went to college, which was to play football and basketball and graduate. And so I was able to accomplish all those things in 5 years. But it was a lot of people assisting in that process.
Well, you were at the Heisman Trophy ceremony this weekend. Take us back in your time when you win the Heisman Trophy. What was the feeling when your name is announced and you're hoisting that thing? It's just like I would. It seemed like you would just black out. What was What was the feeling when that happened, when you hear your name?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think we all, as young kids, lads, especially if you're in sports, you want to have that opportunity to be in that seat, and being on a very good team, having a push from quite a few people to be at the Heisman that year, and then actually being there, being able to see uh, the Heisman winners that have won it previously, that were back there, guys that you admired, like Tony Dorsett said, George Rogers, those guys, that were there. Um, and then to have your name called, for me, it was something at the time, I didn't appreciate as much as you do right now. As you grow older, you understood what it meant, being one of the top, receive the full benefits long term. I got my jersey retired in a big ceremony back home, and then of course everyone wanted to touch you and be a part of your life and all those different things. So those things really ramped up even more after winning it. Um, but it was a great feeling to be able to be named the Heisman Trophy winner, or to win it, just because it it gives you that that name wherever you go. It's a part of who you are now, and you always be known as a Heisman Trophy winner.
So, Travis Hunter, what'd you think? Great speech, great player, dual threat type of guy. What did you think of him just overall?
Yes, very good, very dynamic player. He has a great talent. I admire him because he's different, and he wants to be different. Like, the guy played an incredible amount of snaps, and he put himself in that position to do that by taking care of his body and doing necessary things to get prepared and ready for that situation. And I understand it. Like, if you're going to do that and be that type of player and stand out, you have to be different. And so he was on both sides of the football. And he's just an incredible young man when it comes to the things that he's doing, his story. Um, I'm sure we'll understand it better over the time when we start hearing more and more about his family, his growing, his upbringing. We kind of heard a little bit about it, but I'm just happy for him. Any other year, Ashton Genty would win the Heisman Trophy. Um, but this year, the guy that won it, um, did more when it came down to just having all the necessary things to be in that seat and to win the Heisman. So um, I'm just happy for him. My thing is, he started at HBCU. He was committed to Florida State and changed to HBCU to follow Coach Prime and Shador, and then they transitioned to a Power Four conference, and he still continued to be the best, there as well. And so I could just detractors, people saying going to HBCU, stop him from reaching the ultimate goal, which was probably for him, one is winning a Heisman. I'm sure they could have been in the college football playoffs as well. But to win a Heisman starting out at HBCU would definitely help others to understand. No, you don't always have to be in certain positions or go certain places just to achieve your goals.
Yeah, crazy great story. And also, Deion Sanders, Florida State alum, you know, kind of really was the father figure for him.
Yes, and Dion's been a father figure for quite a few young men throughout his journey. And he gets it when it comes down to what it's going to take to raise young men in this society. And so, you know, and I'm just happy for him because he does a great job of taking the football and turning it into life lessons. And so, like, he gets it. Like, he's at a place where very similar to Coach Bowden, where he's unapologetic about his faith. And if people like him, I mean, that's okay. If people don't like him, that's okay too. Like, but he's going to be who he is, and he appreciate people and who they are. And so you can admire that about him.
Talk about NIL now. What are your thoughts around the NIL process now? And we'll talk about the portal after that, which is just insane.
Yes, NIL is to me. I wish we had it when we were in school. We couldn't get a job. Like if we wanted to go to a football camp and work it, we couldn't do that to be able to get paid. I was very frugal, and I even saved my per diem from bowl games to be able to have money for uh, the next semester. And so, you know, definitely NIL would have been a great resource to be able to have, and also just building relationships with businesses, whomever was doing business with the school or wherever it may be, which helps long term as well. So, but NIL today is going into pay for play type of model mindset, and some are there for NIL, and like very few should be doing IL, but others are pay for play type of models where they still do community service, outreach, those types of things. Um, and happy for those guys, ladies as well, to be able to have those opportunities.
Yeah, it's become a business decision now. And now you see, kids jumping from place to place just because of, their opportunities to maybe up their NIL um, Q score. It's just it's interesting how this all has happened in such a short period of time. Can you believe how fast it's happened?
Not well, kind of, sort of. It started out as I mentioned. I think the nuts and bolts or the foundation of it was supposed to be authentic or to a point where it was above board. Like everything's supposed to be above board.
Right.
But of course, there were no parameters around it, which gave it all these different legs. And when you add the NIL and transfer portal together, really at the same time, that's how it got out of control and out of hand so quickly. Because you start adding those two together with no stipulation, which, you know, that all those things went under court orders, litigation. And so that's kind of how we got to this point where unlimited transfers, there's no cap for NIL, and those types of things. So it's been a whirlwind of transferring guys playing well one year, transferring to another school or putting a name in the portal to see how much money they can make. All those things are playing a big part in why we're having such a mass transfer. I heard the number of transfers that's in the portal now is like 5,000.
Yeah.
Is that
It's
number?
it's crazy. There's not that many spots to go play.
Uh, yeah, I agree, and I'm not sure. Like, see, some of the players are starting to take their name out of the transfer portal to go back to their school once they. Some of them are, putting them in when they have coaching changes. I guess to see what I don't know what they're going to see, but it's just interesting. Like there are a lot of names in the transfer portal right now, and there are not that many spots, and so is I don't know. I guess wherever God has for them, or where they should be. There are a lot of schools out there that need players, good players. At the FCS level, what we're seeing is, those guys are starting to get, some of them are starting to get poached as well. And HBCUs are starting to get poached their best players. Um, and so those things are actually happening.
You know, I got to go around the horn though, really quick. Best college atmosphere that you played in football wise?
Well, of course, Doak Campbell. I
Right.
mean,
Okay.
we played
Outside of Florida State,
yeah,
you know.
outside of us, outside of Doak Campbell.
Yeah, you had some
Well,
legendary
I'll have to,
games
yeah. I mean, there
at
was a lot
Notre
of
Dame.
Clemson. Clemson was one. Notre Dame was another, and the Swamp. And then, of course, in Miami when it was at Orange Bowl.
Yeah, just so many memories of playing football. How about basketball wise? I mean, y'all are really good. Y'all were loaded with that Seminole basketball team.
Well, for me, the two great places was the Dean Dome, North Carolina, and then at Duke, Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Yeah, those are bucket list places. Also when you get drafted by the Knicks, just the thought of everybody's thinking football, football, and then your career is in basketball. What was the Knicks organization like? How cool was it to play in MSG, which is the dream for basket? It's the mecca of basketball, is Madison Square Garden with Spike Lee and fans and celebrities. What was that? What was that experience like?
Because of my days in college, I was most noted for being a football guy. But the guy had different plans, and I still had to do my part. I had to put the time and energy in to prepare for the NBA draft. I didn't get drafted in the NFL, and so when it came down for me to get drafted in the NBA, I thought I may have been going to Orlando, but Orlando, which was the next pick, but the Knicks chose me the pick before. Um, and so I was just grateful. But more importantly, I made this confession that there's no way that I could ever live. I don't know if I probably said never, but I could ever live in New York after I left the Heisman. And lo and behold, God put me right in New York City for 9.5 years to understand and know that it's a great city. I enjoyed it there, and I learned a lot as a person, having to navigate the New York traffic, the New York media, um, and being able to play in a pressure cooker each and every night because that's just what happens in New York. But just a great blessing for me to be there. Made some great friends. Like I said, I was there for 9.5 years. I wasn't a superstar. I was a role guy, but just had great coaches. The organization was very good, and still they're good to us today. So um, I'm just blessed. I was just blessed to be able to have that experience.
Well, Coach Ward, now Coach Ward, um, thanks so much for the time. What a great story. I mean, the story of what you have accomplished and now what you're doing, and you're mentoring a ton of kids, which is probably your passion, right? I could see you as a tremendous mentor and a coach. All the best, Coach. Hey, when we're down in, Tallahassee and we're chopping, I'm gonna come look you up.
Or come on down. We'll be here, and hopefully one of these days we'll be able to invite you down to the Champions Ranch, a youth and family sports education and wellness campus that we're building our foundation as part of. It was the vehicle for our mission to be able to impact our youth and families in our region, um, and state and nation. So one of these days, once we get it built, hopefully we can bring it down for something to be able to, experience it.
Man, looking forward to that. All right, congrats on all the endeavors. That's a big deal. Also, we'll circle back when that thing is put together and take a tour or virtual tour or something like that. But coach, again, thanks so much. Charlie Ward, Heisman Trophy winner, 10-year NBA player. This is Matt with VYPE. We'll see y'all at the games. Okay, that was Charlie Ward. Now we're just going to talk nationwide high school football, college football. All right, some of the best teams in the country continue to be those best teams and build their trophy cases. Let's start with modern day in California. Thoughts?
Yeah, they beat De La Salle to win I believe the national championship, but also the CIF, California State Championship. Modern Day has been a staple in high school football over the past, let's call it 20 years now. You look at the teams they have, the guys they have coming out each year in every class, the guys they have across the country playing college football. They won another state championship and kind of another national championship, I believe, too. I mean, you look back at the past 4 or 5 years, they've been a national champion, I believe, almost every year. So just a strong program out there in Cali.
I'd love to see them play some schools outside of California. I know they kind of do that, but I don't know if I'm a total believer in California football. They are really good, but just there's so many kids out there also, and they get the cream of the crop because it's kind of a private school and they all get there. Milton and Carrollton of Georgia, Georgia football, whoo, in high school is loaded with tremendous talent.
Yeah, Milton's really good. They've had a really good year. They've got a lot of high level recruits coming out of this class. So that and Carrollton as well. I mean, you got I believe Juju Lewis goes to Carrollton, so that'll be a big matchup. But in general, just that Georgia area, you talk about those two schools, Buford as well. Those are like prime areas for college coaches to go recruit kids, just with the amount of talent they have in those three areas.
You just fly into the ATL and then boom, you could spend a week there just going from high school to high school, picking up tremendous SEC national prospects. You got Bishop Gorman. These are some of the names we always hear. Still highly ranked coming out of Las Vegas, St. John Bosco, St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, Archbishop Spalding, Chaminade. These are all top 10 teams in the country. Texas was a battle. What a wild battle. Okay, so North Shore High School was very highly ranked. They lose to Austin Westlake, which is a national power as well. They've been to 10 state championships. Westlake, could they be back? And then, of course, North Crowley. North Crowley kind of not shocked the world, but they beat Duncanville, which was a top 2 or 3 team in the country leading up to the playoffs. North Crowley wins that. So it's getting spread around a little bit in Texas.
Yeah, you look at North Cali. That's they're kind of the new kids on the block, so to speak. In Texas, they're having a really good year, beating Duncanville, who has been the kind of the big bad bully of Texas high school football, along with North Shore. For those two teams to lose and then open up the door for North Cali. Obviously, Westlake has been a state power in Texas before, but kind of just making a little bit of a comeback now that they've gotten over the hump of beating that Houston area team to get the state. So you look at, but I think North Cali is the story of Texas this year. They've been putting on for the 817. They wanted to make a statement against Duncanville, a more kind of traditional Dallas school, and North Crowley being kind of that Fort Worth area's kind of school. So shout out to North Crowley. They're having a heck of a year, and they're going to have a big game on Saturday.
Gatorade Player of the Year
is Keelan Russell.
Whoa, the Duncanville quarterback who is signed with Alabama. Keelan Russell, I'm going to say a little slight of stature, but great runner and really accomplished passer. But did they get that right? Last year was DJ Lagway from Willis, another Texas quarterback, becoming the national Gatorade Player of the Year. Did they get that right?
I think so. Keelan, I mean, he won Elite 11 Finals MVP. He was a state champion the past 2 years. He proved that, hey, I'm not just a runner, I can throw the ball. So Keelan Russell is definitely deserving of the National Gatorade Player of the Year. You look at his stats this year, it definitely shows that. And Alabama, if you're an Alabama fan, don't be shocked if you see him hit the field a little early next fall.
Wow, I tell you what, man, Bama's just losing kids in that portal. It's just outrageous. Everybody's losing kids, and the movement is just insane. Let's talk Heisman. Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. I think that's the right pick. I know people were kind of up in arms with Genty from Boise State, the great running back. He's from Dallas, but Travis Hunter. A lot of the Heisman Trophy is about marketing. And he's been marketing that Heisman pose from Jump Street. And it's great because you have a Jackson State HBCU turned Colorado, which wasn't really a great program, with Dion, his family situation, his girlfriend situation, which is getting so much pub on social media. I really like the guy. I think he's a great ambassador for high school sports, wears his heart on his sleeve. What did you think about Travis Hunter getting the Heisman?
I think that he's a kid that a lot of kids can look up to, especially dual sport athletes, guys that play multiple positions, that can do different things. He's a great role model. And also you look, he doesn't get in trouble. He's not going out and doing things that you would see normal college kids do. He's taking care of business, knows what his goal is, and that is the NFL. And so I think he definitely won the popular vote, and I think he definitely is he's a generational player with how he can go both ways and do it at a high level. We'll see what happens in the NFL. I know he has aspirations to do both. The NFL is kind of a different game, but we've seen some guys do it at the next level. So I think he was the right pick. I do think Genty deserved a little bit more of a nod. To do what he's doing at running back this year in college is very impressive, and you don't get to see many other guys like that. I believe if you go back and look at the past 5 Heisman Trophy winners that are running backs, he has better statistics than every single one and didn't win the Heisman. So it's just kind of crazy to think about. He's going to be another top first round draft pick. So though he didn't win the Heisman, he's going to make some good money and be a great player in the NFL.
My thing is this also in Boise State, they're not a name brand and they play kind of on the West Coast schedule. The timing is weird. You never really got to see them on big primetime TV. I think that really plays a massive part in it. Back to the marketing thing. Cameron Ward at Miami, I think he had a tremendous season. I think he's going to be a pretty highly drafted guy. Shedeur Sanders, I was kind of surprised he was there, of course, but I was a little surprised he wasn't maybe in the Final Four. I get Dylan Gabriel, of course, with Oregon, who, they're the number 1 team in the country. He had a tremendous season also, but just look at who is going to be in that top 2 or 3 you think, and I'll say what I think as it relates to NFL prospects that are getting ready to go through the gauntlet of being interviewed and things of that nature and going through the combine and all that stuff. Who do you like out of the kind of top end kids that we're talking about right now to be drafted the highest?
I think Travis will go pretty high. I think he's a top 3 pick, no matter where it is. I think Shedeur Sanders is another guy who's probably a top 3 pick if you look at the quarterbacks. I think Cam Ward is going to be a first round pick. I don't know where he'll be slotted at. I think Shedeur shows you a lot of things. The question will be where will he go? Will it be the Giants? Will it be, there's a video on Twitter of him outside in New York throwing on the streets of New York with Malik Neighbors, who's currently that star wide receiver for the Giants. So we'll see kind of what happens. I think those 2 guys are definitely 2 top guys. And then you'll definitely see, I would say, a defensive end or an offensive lineman probably go also in that kind of 1 to 5 range, because there are definitely some teams that need both a pass rusher and an offensive lineman.
Yeah, Kelvin Banks, we don't talk about the big awards a lot, but he won the Lombardi for the offensive line.
And won the Outland.
And the Outland. He's from Summer Creek High School in Houston. Great guy also. He's a guy that you want to build around just his personality-wise and talent, obviously. He'll be probably the first maybe a lineman taken off the board. So it is kind of cool to see now with the portal, and you don't see a ton of people like you used to see declare for the draft, I guess. We didn't see that, the underclassmen so wildly jumping in hopping into the NFL draft world. I thought that was kind of interesting because honestly, you can still make money in college. So that's that. Portal wise, going wild. Where are we at on the portal? Open, close. We have another National Signing Day coming up later in February, but there's still a lot of movement to be had.
Yeah, it's still open. Lots of kids are taking their visits to different programs, kind of hopping around schools. That's a big part of it is they'll go to a school and then they've got these agents, these guys, and they're like, okay, this is what they offered you. Let me go to LSU's coaching staff. Let me tell them, or Oklahoma or whoever it is, hey, this is what A&M just offered. Can you do a little better? And so that's kind of what it's free agency basically. That's what you're starting to see. But these kids are also taking visits to try to figure out where is the best fit for them, where they can get playing time, especially if they're a young guy who didn't get to play at the previous program they were at. Can they get on the field early there? Can you make an impact? And then also like you said, a lot of these kids want to go pro when they're juniors after their junior season. So it's going where the right fit is for you. Yes, you're going to get your money wherever you go because that's just kind of how it is nowadays. But finding the right fit, I think, is the most important thing for all these transfer portal guys. But you're also going to see a lot of kids left without a home.
Weirdest thing of the past 20 days. Bill Belichick, the new head coach at UNC. Weird. I'm not sure that he translates there. I do like Dan Mullen getting to UNLV. And what's cool is, UNLV had a great season this year. And nobody talks about them. They don't raise a bunch of money. They had a player, their starting quarterback, transferred like after the first couple of games, I think. But Dan Mullen, can he get there and make another superpower out west with some talented quarterbacks? He's always been a great quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, I think he can. I think that's a great fit. Now the interesting thing will be, does he keep offense coordinator Brennan Marion, who's already there, because he kind of fits his scheme of what he would want to do throwing the ball. But I'm curious to see how that situation works out. But I think Mullen's going to he'll be able to recruit kids. He'll be able to definitely go out and find a quarterback. You look at the guys he's been able to coach. He recruited Tim Tebow. He recruited Cam Newton to Florida.
Never heard of him.
He recruited Dak Prescott to Mississippi State. And then at Florida, the sleeper one was Kyle Trask that he offered, who never had barely any playing time at Manville High School here in Houston, ended up being a Heisman finalist, I believe, that year for Florida, and he was a first-round draft pick. So you look at what he's done at every stop. He's been able to find a quarterback and develop them. So I think he's going to be a good spot for UNLV, who has, with now how the playoff works, he'll have a shot to make the playoff too.
All right, so that's your football wrap. High school, college, pro. We're going to shift gears here in the next couple weeks more into basketball. Then we'll hit baseball, softball, soccer maybe a little bit, and maybe. All right, well, hey, Matt Malatesta, Jackson DePasquale on my whistle, powered by VYPE Media, as seen on Samsung TV.